we are launching a new series called as Edu Talks, right? The purpose of these lectures, apart from your regular classes, is to indoctrinate you with open ideas, because whatever we teach in classes is only for UPSC, but these kind of talks will open your mind to new kind of ideas, because the first hand experience you get from university professors is totally different, right? And please make sure that at the end of the session there will be interaction, right? Whatever doubts you have regarding the topic, that is Indian rupee, sir will anyhow introduce. But as all of you know, Indian rupee is going through a lot of turbulent times, both good and bad. Yes, and it's a very, very important topic. Definitely you can write a mains answer, or GS paper 3 answers based on these lectures, right? So first I would love to talk about this particular topic. Ganesh sir, Professor Ganesh sir will, who is backbone of our institute, he will come here and he will introduce Professor Krishna Reddy sir. Then the lecture will commence. Okay, sir, Ganesh sir, please.
Yeah, I am Professor Ganesh Chinta from Osmania University. After my retirement from university service, I am taking classes for the students preparing for civil services examination. And of course, for the past more than 2 decades, I am teaching sociology as an optional subject for the civil services aspirants. Now we have initiated an open session, which we call it as Edu Talks. The idea behind this particular session is that apart from regular teaching, apart from your regular preparation for civil services prelims and mains examination, you need to have a broad idea on certain current topics related to polity, economy, history, science and technology, social and economic issues, etc. Because this kind of knowledge will be helpful for you to write a most effective answers while appearing for civil services mains examination. Of course, it will be also useful for your prelims examination. So keeping this in view, I thought that let us invite the best of the best academicians from different universities across the country. And we thought that at least once in 15 days, let us have one lecture on a current topic which will be useful for the students for civil services examination. So with this, today we have initiated a lecture by Professor Krishna Reddy, who is a professor of economics at Department of Economics, University of Hyderabad, which is a central university situated at Gachibowli in Hyderabad. And this is a first lecture. So hereafter, we are planning to organize at least one lecture, maybe 15 days or 1 month, but most probably at least one lecture for 15 days, right? So Professor Krishna Reddy is an eminent scholar in the field of economics. He is working as a professor at University of Hyderabad for the past more than 25 years. And he has published number of research articles in a reputed national and international journals. You know, University of Hyderabad is one of the prestigious university not only in India but across the globe. You know, if you go by the World QS ranking, only university from South, that is University of Hyderabad, ranked as one of the best university. and he is an eminent scholar in the field of economics, and he is associated with the confidential works related to almost all public service commissions in the country, including UPSC. And beyond this, I cannot speak because certain confidential things we are not supposed to speak, because as an academicians we involve in many confidential activities related to the public service commissions. Okay, so he has a long experience with regard to these competitive examinations. So keeping this in view, I requested him to deliver a lecture today on one particular topic, and again on 29th there will be another talk by Professor Krishna Reddy. So similarly, for every 15 days we invite the eminent scholars related to different fields, and these lectures will be organized. So these kind of lectures are open for everybody. This is open for everybody, right? This is not just restricted to the students taking coaching in Amigos IAS Academy, but it is open for everybody. Then my suggestion to all of you, please switch off your mobile phones. All of you, please switch off your mobile phone. Focus your attention on lecture, and this lecture will continue for 60 to around 90 minutes. That means 1.5 hours. And later on, there will be an interactive session where you can ask your doubts or you can raise questions related to the topic. Sometimes even related to economics also, you can ask your doubts where Professor Krishna Reddy will clarify your doubts. Okay. So though Professor Krishna Reddy is having a long CV, I am not able to present everything because lecture is more important for us, and moreover all of you are the civil services aspirants, so therefore let us focus on the lecture. So now it is exactly 4:30, I think. Up to 5:30, 5:45 lecture will continue, and later on let us have the question and answer session, and please feel free to ask about your doubts and interact with the professor so that you can have a great insight into the subject. Okay, thank you very much. Now I invite Professor Krishna Reddy to deliver a talk. The talk is on Indian rupee on the global stage, trends, challenges, and future outlook. Now I invite Professor Krishna Reddy Garu to take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ganesh sir, and all the students, and of course the faculty from Amigos. I am here today for two reasons. One is, of course, Professor Ganesh sir is the reason. I could not say no when he called me and said, Krishna, please come. He's like, I treat him like my teacher, and he has shaped many people, directly, indirectly. I was also a student of Usmania. Then, of course, we have worked together on several other assignments. And number two, I was told this session is also open, where it is free, I hope, and larger students comes and participates. So, because I do go participate, particularly mostly on Telugu TV channels, and I do write extensively to the various newspapers on contemporary issues. So then I thought this also would help, because as a teacher we want to share. So I thought let me share whatever I could do that, and we have been seeing that, particularly if I'm coming to the topic as Indian rupee. So the recent past, more than stock market volatility, we see the rupee is a dancing, or rupee is weakening every day. And we have a dilemma. One way, people says that your economy is growing faster and economy is in best across the world, right? If you see the IMF and World Bank projection, by the way, how many of you are with economics background? Can you just raise? Anybody studied at graduation, at a post-graduation? Only one, two. So otherwise, more or less, you're all illiterate in economics and sense. Fair enough. So as Sir Ganesh sir told you, please be interactive. It is not necessary that at end only we will talk. We can talk in between, so that the clarity is more important. Okay. So in that sense, now let's understand the context before I go on to the topic. So now there is a dilemma that how do we understand this entire picture of it? Because in terms of growth rates, India is the best. I mean, it is growing more than 5% by various agencies forecast, and but other side rupee is getting weakening. And more interestingly, we say USA is going through a lot of troubles, particularly after Trump. We have been, I'm sure you might have discussed about the tariff war which is going on, and in terms of visa is going aggressive, and we talk about that USA is going through high rate of inflation and high rate of unemployment. Then what the hell, why this rupee is getting weakened when the USA is itself in the bigger crisis and supposed to be increased where India looks better? Am I right? I mean, even a common sense, forget about economics, and a common sense says when such an economy which is going through a serious phase of economy, and a lot of people started forecasting that the Trump aggressive, the policies are going to be negatively impact, though he's trying to favor the US economy by bringing various policies, but there is a serious forecast that US economy get into the recession. So then what drives them? And another side, we heard from the finance minister statement some time back, rupee is not weakening, dollar is getting strengthened. What? How do you understand? Right? She said very clearly as a finance minister, not as a politician. She said because as a minister, her weightage is much bigger than as a politician. A politician can make any comment. Fair enough. But not as a finance minister, right? So there must be some logic, the story behind it. So we need to try to understand, those dynamics as simple as that. Right? And so that's the story today. We will go on. So let me start with basic, probably. This is maybe like historical context. But again, you may ask me why do I need to understand some history? As a the competitive exam point of view also, it is essential to give impression to the examiners that you had some fair amount of understanding on the detailed depth analysis. Okay, otherwise if you just start writing an abstract statements by reading various newspapers or magazines, that may not help. So better you should start few lines, may not be in a deeper sense. So in that sense, let's see, Indian rupee has been used since ancient times in a silver coinage during Maurya and Gupta empires. Of course, if you go to the history, we had, like say, mercantilism trade, people used to go for, the exchange for goods. What do you call for that economy? Barter system, right? We have come with the barter system. Then we had certain coinages, but yeah. So the Indian, we can say that it is in the 16th century under the Mughal Empire, silver rupiah issued by the Sher Shah Suri. Okay, so that was the time where the Indian rupee was started giving that. So then during the British rule, the rupee was linked to the British pound sterling. Okay, we know the Britishers when they were attacked, so just as come. Then subsequently after the independence in 1947, India was pegged to the British pound before switching to the US dollar in the 1971 under the Bretton Woods system. What is this Bretton Woods system? You might have studied somewhere. Yeah, after the Second World War, we had Yeah, a little louder. Good, correct. IBRD? Yeah. So the new financial institutions has come, and of course, IMF and your IBRD or these institutions has come. But basically, I think the rupee. I mean, I'll also show you that where rupee has started against with the dollar. But these are the certain. Just quickly, in the post 1991, INR was partially floated and leading to the based on the market exchange. Like we have a fixed exchange rate system, floating exchange and a managed floating exchange rate. All those exchange rate regimes are there. But yeah, so today we are into the managed floating exchange rate. Quickly, what is that? I think by fixed we know it is with the certain currencies or the international standard currency, we fix our exchange rate. It will not go to the markets, right? When you say the free float, so that will completely leave us to the market forces, okay? But now here managed float. So whenever there is a need, whenever there is a situation, uh, uh, the policymakers will intervene to adjust the exchange rate, okay? That's where we say the managed floating exchange. Though it goes to the current market supply, but we manage in that sense, okay? Now, then what are the importance? I mean, first of all, let's understand why do we worry about currency appreciation, depreciation, right? I mean, end of the day, these are all about the selling of goods. I mean, either in terms of exports or imports. So how do it, impacts, you need to understand. So that's where your currency appreciation, which is again, whenever your country appreciates, it becomes a cheaper imports, right? When your currency appreciates, imports become cheaper. Why? Because when you are paying to the foreign company or foreign country, so you can get very less. Like say earlier you might be paying say Indian rupees of say 80, but now when rupee is appreciated, like say 70 rupees, right? From rupee against the dollar, from 80 to 70 is an appreciation or depreciation of rupee. Everybody? Right? Please be clear what is an appreciation of depreciation. When we are talking about two currencies, okay, with Indian rupee and a dollar, and the dollar is say $1 is equal to rupee. When we say 80 for instance, right now we're around 86, say for simplicities make it 80, right? And the rupee if appreciates, that comes to 70. So that means we are only paying 70 rupees instead of 80, right? We have to pay them in the dollars. So we are paying, earlier we used to pay 80 rupees to buy same commodity because our rupee was depreciated. Now since rupee is appreciated against the dollar, we pay just 70 rupees, right? Each dollar, I mean, you want to spend, you save 10 rupees. So that's where whenever rupee appreciates, the advantage is your cheaper imports. That means you can, people who wants to buy like even oil again, I'm sure all of us know, India is the major imports is a crude oil. The two major items we import, one is a gold, another is the crude oil, right? So that's where the oil, electronics, raw materials become more affordable, and the lower inflation. Again, why? The reduced import cost lead to stable prices in the domestic market, because country like in India still, not only in terms of your crude oil, gold, even now we import a lot of agriculture commodities also. Okay, India even as an agriculture dominated country, we still import certain goods and services from the different countries. That's a slightly different subject, but yeah. So all those become affordable, right? Since rupee is appreciating, normally the prices would be a lowering. So in that context, we say that it can be lower the inflation. And stronger investor confidence. It attracts more FDIs because whenever our rupee appreciating, that means we are more exporting than importing. So that means a country is able to produce more of commodities or goods and services which are required by the global citizens. Okay, so there is a demand for our goods and services in the international market. So that's where that builds the confidence so that we can, a lot of even FDI inflows can come in and which will also positively contribute. Higher purchasing power, Indian consumers can buy more foreign commodities, travel at lower cost. Obviously, we say that when a country's rupee is appreciating, so people will have, with limited money, they can buy more goods and services so that it also improves their purchasing power, right? So the reduced external debit burden, so as we are exporting more, okay, so we are able to earn the forex reserves and maybe we no need to borrow more money. So that will put lesser pressure on even our external debt, right? So that's where, and easy for your dollar denominated loans, because today the most of the, I mean, as of all of us know that the dollar is what is that? Dollar is considered as, in international market, what it is called as a standard currency, official standard currency for any country currency we want to make it. We take that as a standard official currency, right? So now, so in that sense, like even if you want to buy oil, you have to pay them in the dollars. We will talk about the petrodollars also later part of our, the discussion. Okay. Now, that's very good that, currency appreciation we talked about, that's making. Now, what makes when currency depreciates? Why do we need to worry? That is where we are in the current situation, right? So the rupee appreciation, it sounds very good. But of course, let me also tell you, there can be other costs also. When rupee appreciates, the negative side of story, before I talk about the depreciation part, are there no negative impacts when the currency appreciates? Can anybody tell me what kind of possible negative impacts we can have if country currency is going on appreciating? We said exports are very good, right? We are going to be beneficial because we are able to, our commodities are going out. That's right, what you're trying to say, but I got your idea, but I think you need to articulate a little better. Very good. Round of applause. Good. Right? So when our currency is appreciating against the foreign currency, so our commodities will be expensive in international market. So that may lead to negative also, because earlier it is cheaper. People may feel that, yeah, this is quite cheaper, let me buy. But as rupee is appreciating, for instance, against the dollar, the people may think that this is an expensive now. It may not be worth. If it's still worth, yes, that can be, but there is a possibility that people may also not buy, right? So it's not just, I'm trying to say that only we have a positives, we can also look at the negative side of it, but we need to understand the terms and conditions. We have to be very clear. Under what circumstances the appreciation would be positive, at what circumstances it can be negative, right? Like say even Indian students who go abroad for education, it will be easy for them. When the rupee appreciates, you can send lesser money from the home, but they can, you can make it very easy. So now as depreciation of a currency, now the parents has to send more money, right, for your education or whatever you do in abroad. Now the Indian rupee you have to pay more so that you will be able to draw the dollars. So now anyway, I'll just then coming back to the currency depreciation. The costlier imports, the higher crude oil and the essential goods prices increase inflation. So when your currency is depreciating, right, we have to pay more. So that will add burden, and the crude oil will be expensive. And I'm sure the impact of crude oil, how it happens in the economy. What is the any idea? How do you relate if a crude oil prices are increasing? What are the sectors which will have impact immediately? Transportation, right? The moment the transportation has negatively impacted, all your commodities, essential commodities also goes up because it is in transportation. So the general level of inflation also goes up, right? So all those become, push into the inflation. Not only that, we go for this. The capital outflows, the foreign investors may withdraw the funds, impacting the stock markets, because the depreciation of any currencies shows the weakness of the economy in general. So the investors may have fear that this economy is going negatively. The currency is depreciating. That means internationally it is the demand is falling for the demand for the rupee, say for instance. So let's not let's not keep the investment because your return on investment may be very good. What is? Return on investment may be very good. That means if I invest in a stock, suppose say 100 rupees, within a year it may be say 200 rupees, for instance, but your exchange rate very depreciates. So when you look at the rate of return with the depreciation of rupee, it may not be very much attractive, because they have to pay again security transaction tax and all those capital gain taxes, blah blah. So the rest will not be very attractive. So in that sense, people may withdraw the money from the market and move out. Okay, so that's where the capital outflow also can be there. That is where we are seeing today, every time that if you read the newspaper, 1 lakh crore money of the investors has gone. And sometime people will be worried how it has gone, where it has gone, right? So the price has declined, so that where the average loss of all the investors put together is that loss which is recorded in the newspaper, saying that this much wealth has been disappeared from the market. Anyway, and raising the external debt burden, right? So the moment the currency is depreciating, and we will be highly burdened to repay, right? Whenever we want to repay, it has to be in the international standard reserve currency, that is your dollar. Okay, so when you have to pay that in international standard currency, and you have to earn that dollar, right? You people may not be accepting just take my rupee and give me a dollar back. Like some of you may say that, sir, I went to USA and nobody asked me all this, I just paid them say 1 lakh bucks to them and they gave me a dollar. What is this you're talking about? But you may be enjoying as an individual, but it is hard earned forex currency. Somebody has exported which is worth of something to the US citizens or the internationally who owns the dollars and willing to buy in the dollars. We created such products and services. On return, we received that money. Okay, so in that way, the forex reserves is the most important part, and it will be difficult if you have a debt and we have to make payment. We have to pay more for it. So coming to the boost the exports. Okay, Indian goods become cheaper in global markets, increased demand. One of the positive today we can see with the rupee weakening, and India is also waiting, because if you follow the news on the rupee thing, few months back, Reserve Bank of India, who is responsible for monetary policy, has intervened in the market to strengthen the rupee. Okay, how? Because that's also one of the instruments which RBI can do. They have very good forex reserves now, almost I think $640 billion, if I remember correctly, around. So we have very good forex reserves. So what it has done is, it has started selling the dollars in the open market, right? It's like money supply, it's all about. So if rupee circulation is very high in the market, the value will depreciate. Any currency for that matter, right? Without, you don't produce certain commodities, and if your currency is in more circulation, inflation will go up. So, but anyway, the Reserve Bank of India had a good reserves of dollars. So they were sold significantly in the market so that the dollar supply will be increasing in the international market. But that was only negligible, I think around 0.12 or 0.20% the rupee is appreciated for that particular point of time. Then immediately again it has started depreciating. That will come to the major story later part. But RBI is trying to intervene to adjust the rupee value, but it has seen that it is not having such a significant impact. And other side, the danger is if you lose that more valued foreign exchange reserves will have negative impact, because you might have heard about 1991 economic reforms. It was the time where we had very less forex reserves, right? Of a country which had only 15 days reserves to survive. So it was a forced situation to open up our economy. So in that way, the forex reserves have its own advantages for a country to hold it. So our results also are not so encouraging. So RBI stopped selling in the market. That where it is intervention. Like we talked about managed floating exchange, right? So it's RBI is trying to manage that exchange rate by selling the dollar reserves into the open market. So when they sell in the open market, the dollars, anybody can buy from the international market, so that the dollar supply will increase. So thought that the rupee will appreciate, but that has not yielded as a positively. So they have closed that efforts. But anyway, so here the exports is concerned now because our commodities become cheaper in international market because our rupee is depreciating. You might have heard about even devaluation of rupee also. In the past, historically, if you go, many countries, including China, devalued its currency officially. That is, devaluation is nothing but when officially it reduces its value. If it is a market says 30 rupees, say, if they say no, we will be ready to give for 25 only. Right? The moment you go to some shop, you say that, okay, this is 30 rupees, I'm happy to pay. They'll say, no, it is only 25, you take it. Then you will feel more happy. Oh yeah, I thought it was 30 and you are giving 25, right? So fair enough, give me. And instead of one, you may take two, okay, because it's as you expected something, but it is coming little cheaper. At times, countries also officially used to do that, which is also sometimes against of the international bilateral or multilateral trade agreements. China used to have such many instances it has devalued so that it will increase their exports in the international market. India also has done, I think 3 to 4 times in the devalued its currency, but now naturally it is having a devaluing its our currency. Again, we'll try to see the reasons for it. But yeah, so this in a positive sense, if India can tap the international market, it increases its exports, so that though it may be a temporary phenomena, rupees may be depreciating, but we can improve our exports in the international market. Okay, so again supports the domestic industries since import substitution benefits local manufacturers. So imports are become expensive, right? So the domestic markets may flourish because rupee is depreciating, it will be expensive for them. So alternatively, like we promote make in India, made in India, whatever the government of India is trying to push people to be an entrepreneurs and be in the market. Now the imports are inexpensive, so this would be a beneficial by way of some extent can help if you can be substitute and provide them, right? So these are the because in the competitive exam, the people try to understand how clear, how best you understood the concepts and pros and cons of about that particular idea. Okay, so these are all again a basic stories on Indian rupee. We have not even talked about any policy interventions or how it goes, all that. It may not be even required, but as a student, now as a competitive exam when you write, you can think of what is that, the rupee and how historically it has started. Maybe brief, like the movie, they give you recap in just few seconds and try to connect the story. So you also need to start your writing in that and try to highlight what would be the possible impacts with the logical reasonings and some sort of an examples. Then that would be a best answer one can think of. Now, even if you look at the rupee journey, like, from the 1947, against the dollar, we were almost 3 rupees. $1 is equal to 3. Now, gradually, we have come to 86. Okay? Well, see, that's a very important question we need to ask. But, like, say, why? In the 1947, India, always people shown us that our economy is very in bad shape, poverty is very high, right? Poverty rates are very high, unemployment rate is so high, and entire wealth has been drained, the wealth and everything. So we said that we are starting it from square root 1, but still Indian rupee was far better compared to the today. So this is the dilemma. Okay, today we are saying that we are in the fifth largest economy in the world. Okay, and we are aspiring to be very soon to be a third in the world. How do we look at this dilemma is also as a policy front. That is where we cannot just look at any rupee or any currency in terms of just nominal values and see the exchange rate. Okay, because this may mislead if you only bothered about that rupee equal to the dollar. Rather, you need to see how much gain we are enjoying through such a depreciation and appreciation. Okay, we'll see in purchasing power parity theory. We have in economics something called purchasing power parity. That means how much when you compare from one country to another, if you take even same commodity, how much it is priced across the countries. That we will come, I'll also have some data, I'll show you, that time you will get little more clarity. But again, what I would say that in this slide, when we look at from the 1947, where the $1 equal to 3 rupees, and today about 86, the rupees may be depreciated in a great extent. But if you look at the trade value, the kind of forex reserves we have, we are far better. Okay, so hence one cannot look at as a major sign of weakness, as people or in the media in general perception, trying to show that, of course, it, as we discussed, the pros and cons of appreciation and depreciation, but that cannot look in the lens only in a negative aspect. Okay, we will see what ways it goes. For just how many countries, like the US dollar, where you compared with 87, like various other countries, it is still rupee is weakening, like say British pound, euro, Australian, Canada, Singapore, Malaysian, I think Japanese yen, we are better, but Chinese yuan also is 1 rupee equal to, if you want to buy 1 yuan, you have to pay 12 rupees. Okay, so, but by and large, major global currencies are trading much better than that. But some of you may be having, sir, Indian rupee is not valued more than it is. We are always showing a negative. Yes, we are also performing better. When you look at the currencies, 1 rupee is equivalent to 186 rupees. If you go to the Indonesia, we are 1 rupee with the 186, with the Vietnam 291, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Mongolia, you can see where we are also performing better. Few countries where the rupee also is much valued than what we are. Okay, so as in again I said, how and what those currency dynamics is different, but the currency value is concerned. Yes, we have the stories now. Now, what kind of factors would influence in stabilizing the rupee? Right, we have been talking about that the rupee is getting shakening, and what in what way we can stabilize the rupee or the value of it. Okay, of course, the economic growth and political stability, which India is fairly doing well now, right? We are growth rates are after COVID-19, we have experienced almost, every country it is not more than 2% of growth rate, but India is still more than 5%. Okay, so that's where, which is more encouraging for in India. But yeah, the political stability is concerned for last a decade, single party is ruling without any much policy gaps or anything. So we are able to run through in a better. So this is also one of the indicator for doing it. Foreign exchange reserves, India has built up one of the world's largest reserves of foreign currency. The RBI has been strategically, buying dollars when rupee is strong and selling it when it is weak. So that's where I said, recently the RBI was selling it, but at times also they buy when, the currency is getting appreciation also. They try to see that it will be a moderate to be in the competitive in the global market. So that's where the forex reserves makes also very important. Structural reforms and global capability also is one of the major. And we know India is the becoming a hub for exporting services like software, accounting through the global capability centers. Today, I'm put it in a very simple, India is much better in position in terms of providing intellectual human capital, particularly to the world. So we are able to doing a better. This is also can bring a better positive appreciation for the currency. Again, apart from the reasons that we talked about, the investor confidence, okay? In a way, whenever currency is a stronger, investors' point of view, because we have talked about in the economy point of view, that what weakens and all goes. When you look at the investors also, it is for them, when the country's appreciation of currency, it gives an indication that the economy is in a more competitive when compared to its counterparts. And there is a high possibility of growth, because if they invest 1 rupee in the domestic market, that can multiply 10 times or 50 times. So that builds the confidence when the rupee or the respective currencies appreciates. Okay, so that's where we need a stable currencies. Of course, we have been doing. Impacting on business, stability in the rupee's value helps the business plan in managing its cost. I think we have talked all this relatively. Now, the major story, then where the India, the role of, your Indian rupee in the global economy. So far we are doing a better, we will try to understand. So today, bilateral trade agreements, India has signed agreements with Russia, UAE, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, Malaysia. What is this bilateral trade agreement? What is the new about it? We have been seeing that we have a lot of agreements between the countries, but what are these agreements make difference is more important. Anyone having an idea? These days, India is going very aggressively to make bilateral trade agreements. So that means India wants to pay for whatever we import in rupees without converting into the dollars. Okay? India don't want to be convert our currency to the dollar and making an agreement with the different countries that almost 20 countries are signed bilateral trade agreement. I think that is in the coming slide also. We have those nations details. We have signed almost with the 20 countries. Okay, so we will talk about, but yeah, de-dollarization effect. This is also a question. For a civil service point of view, what do you mean by de-dollarization? Anyone having idea? What is first of all dollarization? Forget about de-dollarization. First we need to understand what is about the dollarization. Why do we accept the dollarization? Why stable currency? Let me start with that. See, we have been saying that US is a stable currency, international standard currency, but why? Do you know that USA is having a current account deficit consistently, decadal together. I'm sure you know that current account, capital account in the balance of payments, right? So what is the current account? I mean, they have a very, very highly deficit for the decadal together. I can call it as USA is a consumer country. That means they eat more, produce less. Put it in simple way to understand, but still their currency is in dominance. Why and how? And USA, once upon a time probably it is a good at the technology and industry, but today you see China is everywhere, right? Chinese, you buy, like, I'm sure if you verify any kind of electronic items you have, either directly or indirectly or some subparts will be with the China, even including your Apple phones. Mr. Sir, this is Apple phone, it is more than 50% from China, either in manufacturing, assembling, or certain parts has come from China. So China is going very aggressive. So then yuan should be supposed to be a bigger currency, but how this has happened? The dollar standard currency. Why? You reserve, I'll talk about little later, but you think about it, then only we can understand about de-dollarization, right? How USA could spread across the world and now wants, having a strong hold across. It is not only USA trying to push the dollar value. Every country, including India, also wants dollar should be a standard currency. Even the big countries were planning to float a common currency. China was the one first opposed, saying that no. Why? The China is having so much dollar reserves in the form of dollars. Their entire forex reserves, the majority in the form of dollars, and any kind of depreciation of the dollar value in international market, not only the USA, many other countries also will affect negatively. Okay? How could they spread such a level, and the dependency has created is an interesting story to understand. We will come back to that. Okay? Today like Nepal, Bhutan, and United Arab Emirates, you will be surprised. I think before 1970s, even the most of the Gulf countries used to accept rupee also one of the official recognized currencies. After that it has discontinued, that's a different story, but we used to, some of the Gulf countries, including UAE, used to accept as the official currency as Indian rupee, okay? But yeah, today we are also gaining the recognition to be that. Now, we heard all the story of appreciation, rupees getting depreciated. At the same time, India also want to be a standard global currency, or we call it as a internationalization of rupee. There is also a term called internationalization of a rupee. Okay, so let's see that what is the internalization of the rupee. Okay, so which will facilitate the greater degree of integration of the Indian economy with the rest of the world in terms of foreign trade and international capital flows. That is as simple as when we say that easily, whenever you want to buy any commodity or any service, you can pay in terms of rupee. So for that, our economy should be well integrated with the world economy. What do you mean by integration of Indian economy with the world or global economies? Right? Both the parties, right? India should integrate with the world economy. That means it is not just one way. Right? The integration can only happen when we give them, take something from them, so that we are well integrated and connected. So now India is trying in that way. You may also get some question on what do you mean by, or how it is impacting the internationalization of rupee. Okay, we have other currency stories to tell, like one may ask, sir, we have been talking about rupee, but the cryptos are growing very well. You might have heard about cryptocurrencies also, right? We have something called even currency war now, undeclared currency war, because the Trump also recently said we will recognize the major cryptos like Bitcoin and Ethereum, all that said, we will, along with the other currencies, this also will be accepted as a medium of exchange. Suddenly again, the cryptos has, prices has skyrocketed now. So that's a different story again, the cryptocurrencies, how it is going to change the exchange rate regime. Because the exchange rates only between the countries, but cryptocurrency, we don't have any other country backed by, right? See, for Indian rupee to maintain its stability, RBI takes care of it by intervention of monetary policy or the government of India through fiscal policy. For USA, the Federal Reserve is there to intervene in the market supply. But any cryptocurrency, that is a virtual cryptocurrencies, does not have any regulator nor control of any government. It is a virtual currency. Still is a mystery. There is some names are floating. Satoshi Nakamoto was the founder of this Bitcoin and so on and so forth. Somebody is there. All the stories are there, but none is highly authenticated. Okay, these are only stories, but the cryptos are trading. That we will not even talk, because that is also, you need to, while you are writing your answer, probably we may somewhere as to say that when we talk about currencies, that we also these days, the emergency of the cryptocurrencies also plays along with the other country currencies. Because not only about the dollar, today the cryptocurrency variations in the prices also has impact on our fiat currencies. That is officially recognized currencies, like a rupee or dollar, we call it as a fiat currencies, which is recognized by the respect to the countries and given a support. Anyway, so the major advantages that you can, the internalization of rupee includes your savings on foreign exchange transactions for Indian residents. So whenever we, like you might have seen if you've gone to any foreign exchange agency, buy price, sell price is different. The moment you just buy now, say if you go and want to buy a dollar, they will say, though it is market price shows 86, but they charge somewhere around 95. And the next second you will say that I don't want the dollar, please take it. They'll say it is only 80. It's a fixed. They say these are our charges for a buy and sell. So there is certain commission as well as the taxes, all that. So anyway, when you directly trade with the rupee, so such things can be saved. See, for us, when as a tourist, when you go, or any other visiting purpose you go, we borrow or we buy very limited. Like say maximum, say 5 lakhs you spend in Indian rupee, get a forex currency and go, finish your tasks and you come back. But the traders, the value will be very high. So every rupee they spend on the exchange rate, it matters for them. Right? Because it's not just one day, it is affair, it is their entire business, so it matters for them. Hence this would be helpful in that way for even Indian corporates, reduction in the dependency on the foreign exchange reserves for balance of payment stability. Because today, most of the countries have, companies, forget about countries, maintains the forex reserves. Okay, so in that sense also we have a major benefits. So I think as a policy, we could see that we have to be very, very cautious when we are opening up, because as in India, we are aggressively getting into the bilateral trade agreements and rupees. When we don't balance, if somebody asks, sir, then why all these days we are not opened up? If the dependency on the dollar is such a horrible experience for us, and now we are saying that we are moving to the bilateral part of the story, why we have not done so far, right? Because again, our size of the economy, the way we are in global competitive was very limited. We were not able to challenge the global economies. Now as our economy is growing and the people are depending, because you look at our IT sector or your software and industries are much, are nowhere inferior to compete with the global firms. So now the nation is getting into such a framework, but still it should be a caution of advice we need to tell them, because any aggressively we get into it and tomorrow we are not able to honor such contracts, I mean the agreements, because if we are not able to produce certain goods and services which will negatively impact. So that's where we say we have to be very little cautious about before we move on to the aggregation. So these are the certain points from the literature where I could draw that what are the preconditions for any country. Suppose when we say, like an essay is asked to write about what are the scenario where this international of rupee works better, what kind of conditions we should put it, which is well accepted facts. That is, the government must remove all the restrictions on the freedom of any entity, domestic or foreign, to buy, sell its country's currency, whether in the spot and forward market. So that means without any restrictions, you make them first free. So such scenario can only happen when we are competitive enough. Right? When we are allowing freely anybody, suppose if I can challenge you, ask me any question from the economy, at least I should have some knowledge to say that, right? Otherwise you pose me some, or if I go and ask me any question in the chemistry, you ask me a basic question, I cannot answer. Right? So likewise, any country, when we go before saying that, okay, we are open our economy to the market, so you first remove all the restrictions, allow them the free trade, so that the people also will be comfortable to do, so it can go on. And the spot market, forward market, anyone having an idea what is this spot market and forward market? We have currency market, okay, like you have a stock market, right? Equity market we call it. People buy, sell stocks. Similarly, we have currency market also. All kinds of currencies you can buy and sell any point of time, the way you do in the stock market. That we also have something called derivatives market. Derivatives market. This is only for your understanding for the spot. You may not require to understand entire derivatives as such. If I put it simply, it is as good as like insurance. The derivatives are a contracts between the two parties at a future price, okay, agreed upon. If I am talking about forward market, after 6 months I want to buy dollars, say $100 with a fixed exchange rate. Suppose say whatever that day market rate will be there, I'll be ready to give you 86 rupees per $1. So you give me $100. So you are getting into the contract. So advantage is, the moment you get into this currency derivative contracts, as the exporter or the importer, I know what would be my currency value at the end of the day. So accordingly, you will calculate your cost of production and you price for the product. Some assurance is there. Okay? So people get into that future date contracts so that you will receive the money. Spot means today, whatever price today market, you can buy and pay them in the dollars. But people in the long term who have some vision and want to make in the future certain payments, to avoid any confusion, there is something idea of currency derivative markets. Okay, so that is where they are saying you make free from in the spot and forward markets also. And domestic firms are able to invoice some, if not all, of their exports in their country's currency, and foreign firms are likewise able to invoice their exports in that country's currency, whether to the country itself or to the third countries. It is simple that you give them invoice in their own respective currencies, that okay, this much I wanted to buy or this much you want to sell it. So you allow them also to quote even their currencies. When you have a bilateral agreements or you wanted to go, so because you are also accepting their currency. Right? When we say internationalization of rupee, bilateral agreements, it is not only rupee they accept it, their currency also we accept. It's a two-way, it's not one way. Okay? We also accept their currency and seeing that there is a potential for mutual benefits. Okay? So that's where it says that invoices should be without any restrictions. Foreign firms, financial institutions, official institutions, and individuals are able to hold the country currencies and financial instruments denominated in it amounts that they deem useful and prudent. That means how much currency they want any point of time, any individual or any firm, they should be in a position to hold it. We should not put any such kind of restrictions. As they're required, that should be allowed. Foreign firms and financial institutions, including official institutions, are able to issue marketable instruments in the country's currency. Like, financial products. Okay? What is the financial products you call? Any idea? In general, forget about in this context. What do you mean by financial products? Shares, okay. Bonds, even bank deposits also is a financial products, right? Your FDs to your, RDs, all these instruments option, financial investment options, like mutual funds you can invest, or all these are the financial instruments, various, like you may invest in the gold, you may invest in the bonds, or you may invest in the securities, right? So it says that it should be allowed to use all kinds of financial instruments, whichever they wanted, so that will be only achievable. The issuing country owns financial institutions, and 9 financial firms are able to issue on foreign market instruments denominated in their country own currencies. See, of course, I understand some of you might be confused. This all is like a terminology, like financial institution, non-financial institutions, okay, the foreign markets, instruments. These are all like economics or finance jargons, okay. Once you go back, I think as a civil servant aspirant, it is also expected to have the basic terminology. I would call it as a terminology. It is like learning a language, right? Any language, you need basic vocabulary. So to follow this also, you may need certain vocabulary. Don't be worried now if you don't get certain concepts into it, because you will be only familiarized, because many of you are non-economics background. It takes some time to digest certain terminology, but try to get sense of what kind of, that would help you to move on to the next. But I would say just type in even Google glossary or the dictionary of basic economics or finance terms, banking terms. It definitely adds your understanding in a better. Anyway, I think we'll move to the next part of it. So particularly in the trade point of view, how it helps, because we have been talking about, Indian rupee for international trade, right? So what are the advantages which we would expect? Reduced dependency. So now we can reduce the dependency on any one country, because earlier the larger dependency was on the US, beat particularly on dollar, not in the US economy, but it is on the dollar front. So the less reliance on foreign currencies, particularly the US dollar, which is because the USA suddenly now started aggressively going. It is not only hampering the US economy, it is also giving a lot of threats for the other economies. The way he is going, particularly Trump regime, is more, not at all a stable policies. We can say it is a drastic, because now they are not allowing go for outsourcing, and people who are in the visas also has reduced in a great extent. So it is shaking the entire, and tariffs are going 25 to 30% on most of the commodities, which is against the trade agreements. So now the counterattacks also starts, right? When USA is trying to impose certain tariffs, already UK and other countries also started slowly saying that, okay, India is also trying to put certain restrictions on the US or increase more tariffs on imports from US as well. So there is a tariff war, the story goes. Anyway, so now that way, if you try to improve our currency value in international market, so that will be reduced the dependency on the foreign currencies, boost the economic autonomy and resilience against the external financial fluctuations, and enhanced monetary sovereignty. What do you mean by sovereignty?
Yeah? Ability to rule independently. That means a nation has the autonomy to take decisions which will suit for their own requirements, right? Without any influenced by any external forces, country can take independent decisions which suits and required for the particular country. So here also this enhanced monetary sovereignty. Today, if you observe in the global economy, okay, entire globe is controlled through the monetary power or the trade power. Okay, today we have nuclear weapons. Okay, every country has a nuclear weapons or some way other military power is strong, reasonably strong, even so-called underdeveloped countries as well. And no one can control, no one can threaten in terms of military power. So the only power through is a trade. So that's where we say that enhanced monetary sovereignty. So the countries, if your currency is independent, nation may be independent, but many today undeclared dependency on the dollar is very high. That is where we are talking about de-dollarization. Okay, because the USA, we have seen in the Russia-Ukraine war time, has imposed sanctions against the Russia. Okay, there was some payment gateway. What is that payment gateway called? Russia, Ukraine, during the conflict time, USA was imposed because it said the Russia was not listening and it was supporting the Ukraine, right? So there was certain restriction, financial sanctions are imposed. You should also read that. Financial sanctions of USA on Russia to stop the war. But Russia said nothing doing. That is a SWIFT payments. There is a payment gateway called SWIFT payments. Okay? So anytime you want to pay to any other country, that is the common platform or used for making international payments. For simplicity, for to understand you, like UPA payments. See, now all of us might be having some UPA payments, some other app, any app, but it is a UPA connected. So if I want to transact money, it's easy for us. But if suddenly I say that no, this particular student is not allowed to use UPA payments, it is difficult for you to make a transactions, right? So your business may be affected. They cannot stop you directly to trade, but now you are blocked the important easy connectivity payment gateway. It will have a negative impact. And interestingly, if you see, this conflict is nothing to do with USA. It is a Russia-Ukraine conflict. Indirectly, USA wants to take advantage. Said we are imposing a financial sanctions on that. Okay? You try to understand this entire like a story. It helps you easily to connect. Okay? Anyway, so that's where whenever any country today, not only India, many countries started that independent, because USA is going very aggressively, and any point of time they can disrupt entire trade channels through their the dollar dominancy. So or they feel insecure that the monetary sovereignty is declining. So anyway, India would have more control on our currency value without going into that, and enables more effective implementation of monetary policies. What do you mean by monetary policy? Very good. Anyone else? I think these are all very, very important for even general, your paper point of view also, even though you don't take it, either in the interview or in your general paper, this comes. Monetary policies have two options. One is interest rates and inflation. This will be used, it is RBI the responsibility to maintain money supply in the economy. They use this interest rates as a channel to control money supply in the economy, which will be, we call as a price stability. Okay?
and fiscal policy where the government expenditure, right? Simply when the government was willing to spend, it goes. And anyway, so in that way, it enables more effective implementation of monetary policies when the rupee is in fully controlled with one particular country. It is easy for them to design a policies, and accordingly they can suck liquidity from the market. We have certain ratios called, I don't know, some of you might have heard about cash reserve ratio, SLR, statutory liquid ratios, right? Those instruments are your repo rate, reverse repo rate, right? If you are not familiar, please do get in your basics clear in the basic economics. So anyway, the trade facilitation, it eliminates the need for currency conversion in international transactions, as already we have discussed, reduces the transaction costs, simplifies the cross-border process, promotion of domestic markets, of course, encourages foreign investors to engage with the India's domestic financial markets. Okay, so I mean, these are the few countries we are talking about how these agreements as made. We have been talking about, right, trade agreements. So in July 2022, RBI allowed settlements of international trade in rupee. Only in 2022 we are allowed to settle the international trade agreements in the rupees. And December 2022, India saw its first settlement in rupee with Russia as a part of international settlement of trade in Indian rupee, which is initiated by RBI. This is also known as a Vastro accounts. How about Vastro accounts? Russia, with particularly, we have opened account with the Vastro accounts. So that you may, again, this also will come, what do you mean by the Vastro accounts? Because these are very contemporary economic issues. So, and particularly Russia, Ukraine, still the issue is not resolved. So in that sense, some questions may be expected in some way, another form. So India was maintaining very good repo with same way with Ukraine and of course with Russia. And Russia is our very strategic partner in particularly even the crude oil, even despite the global rates are spiking up, but we are able to get a cheaper crude oil from Russia because of with the kind of initiation we have been taken. So RBI authorized banks from 18 countries to establish special rupee Vastro accounts, which is again Russia is already done. Now countries like Botswana, Fiji, Germany, Guyana, Israel, Kenya, Malaysia, Mauritius, you can see several countries has been agreed to go with the Indian rupee. Okay, so India strategically moved, instead of focusing more on the dollar, now India is trying to see that our dependency in the dollar, because end of the day, dollar is ultimately only for the global transactions, right? Whenever we need some goods and services, we have to buy and we are obligated to pay in terms of dollars. That become major challenge and a major concern that our rupee is getting weakened. If we don't have any trade relations or we don't depend on the dollar at all, whether it is increasing or decreasing doesn't matter, right? And anyway, that's the idea. But even today, India has a trade surplus with USA. For your information again, if you look at India has a trade surplus with US. What do you mean by it? That means we are exporting more than imports from USA. See the funny story here. Though our exports are more, so our currency should be more valued. The tragedy, or the gimmicks, the currency dynamics, I can say it's not a gimmicks, it's like the currency dynamics today, because dollar has rooted such a strongly to the across the globe and everybody is trying to protect it, but otherwise we are having a surplus with the even US as well. Right, so of course this certain currency convertibility, Indian rupee faces the restrictions on full convertibility, which can hinder the seamless use in international transactions. So India is also little apprehension to go full convertibility. What do you mean by full convertibility? We have this current account convertibility, capital account convertibility. We have also Tarapur committee. Okay, if you are not familiarized, just look at Tarapur committee recommendations on when India or how we can completely, convert our current account capital accounts. Whenever we use the word called India is 100% current account convertibility is agreed, that means it's freely allowed to exchange in terms of goods, whether it comes to capital account, it is a money where we can freely float, right, without any restrictions. So India is current account is fully convertible now, but when it comes to the capital account, we are still we are close to it, but still we are not going full capital account convertibility. Okay, because many of the investors we have seen even the recent past also, whatever the USA is announcing policies having impact on Indian market. The many of the foreign institutional investors are withdrawing money from Indian market because USA having strategically shifting their policy priorities aggressively, it may negatively impact. With the fear of that, they're withdrawing the money. Very huge outflow, which is disturbing entire economy. Generally, if our economy is going through any challenges, the money should go out of the economy, right? See, it's as like our family is economically very well, we are well off, but your friends, neighbors, or your business partners are going through more volatile, and your wealth also is getting negatively affected because your friend circle or your family is into, the entire your business partners are big trouble. People started doubting you also. You may go and say that, Arey Baba, I am very well, financially well settled, I can repay, or whatever I am doing, I am very good, you say, but people, no. I think this around this fellow, there are people are doubted. So same thing is happening with the concern with the rupee as well. So anyway, these are we'll move on to the next part with the time. Yeah. So as I was telling you about this 22 countries has already opened with the Indian rupee, which is the ministry has officially made announcement some time back. And I said, I told you also, see, the Indian rupee was the legal tender in the Gulf countries, including Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, till early 1970s. Okay. Anyway, now I'll come back to the question which I raised also, that why are we, if such a way, then why are our rupees depreciating? Well, just in a second I'll come back. Now, I think this is a very simple pictorial kind of things. How will trade in rupees will work? Okay, like you are exporting and importing. I think we have talked about, just to understand. Here are there your Vastro account, so that easily you exchange and it goes. And in the exam point of view also, you may not draw these pictures, but if you can give an infographic in a simple, it will be very much helpful. Okay, infographic pictures, infographic, if you can make sense of it, that will be very, very easy for examiner to award your marks. Because if you write the long stories, anyway, they don't give you such a huge space. So it is good to, make that part of it. Now, coming to this idea of purchasing power parity. I told you, we have seen in terms of rupee, how, it has gone when compared to the currency has depreciated significantly. But in PP terms, where India stands, we'll try to see. Okay, there is a concept called purchasing power parity theory. It's simple. Like say if in the USA, this same sandwich, it costs you $5. In India, if it's 200 rupees, 200 rupees. So then there is a perfect. But how much should be exchange rate? If you see, here I've given you a simple example. Identical fast food chicken sandwich costs you 200 rupees in India and $5 in the US. If the PPP exchange rate of $1 is equal to rupee, that should be a 40 in the rupees. In other words, the market exchange rate should be 40 for $1. However, if the actual market exchange rate is 80 for $1, then the rupee is undervalued by 50% according to the PPE exchange rate. To put it simply, what it means, I'll tell you. Whenever same commodity, whether you buy in the US, buy in India, should be the same, right? Because when USA, we saying that, it is very highly valued currency. And if we are paying in India just a burger which costs you, or your sandwich at 200 rupees, and if USA is charging $5, so it's quite expensive. Cost of living, we can say, right? If your exchange rate is only 40 rupees, then okay, 40 into 5, it is a $5, good enough. But today it is 86. And we are getting here the sandwich only for 200 rupees. But there, if you convert, it is an expensive. So we call in the economics, there is something called a nominal GDP and real GDP. You might have also studied it in somewhere, right? So in that way, this is also we need to look at. That means while you are writing an answer, if it is asked a question on the when you want to compare the the country's values, it is also important to understand in terms of PPP where that particular country stands. Okay, in the real term, in the currency value, we have already seen that various country currencies are traded, valued accordingly. I'll show you. See, if you look at in terms of PPP, the China will be the first. Already in the size of the economy, that means in the cost of living, if you take into the account, you measure its value. China, even from 2022, 23, 24, 4 years data. Okay, this is again data from OECD. You could see that China is well, then followed by US, and third is the India. Okay, it is already China has overtaken the global economy if you look at in terms of purchasing power. Okay, so this is where we need to understand whenever we are trying to compare country's economy, either it is a currency value or the economic value, not only in terms of a regular currency value, if you look at in terms of purchasing power, the countries are much better. Okay, so yeah, I think this is where we are trying to show that India has been the world's largest economy in GDP rankings for the many years now. In the nominal GDP terms, India ranks the 5th largest economy in the world. IMF estimates indicates that India GDP in PPP terms in 2025 it will be $17,360 billion. So this is expected to rise $24,000 billion by 2029. So this Ernst Young study latest year suggests that if India is able to maintain GDP growth of 6 to 7%, it will be able to overtake US as the second largest economy in GDP in terms of the next few decades. We are talking about in the nominal terms, we are in the 5th positions. So now even if you maintain 6 to 7% of the GDP, in the PPP terms, so India can overtake by 2020. So that means here the purchasing power parity for us, now for you as a competitive exam, the idea is in terms of PPP per capita, India, you can write that is growing better, whether in terms of nominal GDP or in terms of your the growth of the economy, 5th largest economy. By comparing both in the PPP terms and this, and how is economy performance, that gives a holistic picture. For an examiner will understand, okay, this student has an understanding not just meagerly on the point of the regular newspaper analysis. The newspapers analysis is very important, no doubt about it, but certain theoretical base of interpretation also answer will be unique, because as we know it is every mark is important, and how your answer differentiate from everyone else makes the difference, right? So in that sense, if you can pick up this side of perspective, that how even countries are performing in terms of PPP, and try to draw a conclusion that makes more better. Okay. So I think this already we have mentioned about it, but like, yeah, if you look at in terms of PPP, we are already 2.2 times higher than that of Japan, 2.47 from Germany, 3.5 times more than the UK. If you look at in terms of PPP, the size of the Indian economy is such a big. Okay. Now the story comes in, right? The present scenario. We'll come back to this. Why in the recent past rupees is sliding. Okay. Today, as we have seen that the global economy is in very different situation in terms of, like, say, you can start with the Sri Lankan, Indonesia, to Palestine, Israel, Iran, Iraq, right, to the Russia, Ukraine. Across the globe, there are certainly some uncertainties moving around. Okay. And those policy uncertainty is also having a significant impact on Indian market today. And USA is still dominating, though we are trying to understand that how people are de-dollarizing. See, the Indian rupee, whatever we said, 20 countries, right? That in the 20 countries we had bilateral agreement, that itself a de-dollarization. We don't want to depend on the dollar, hence we are getting an agreement. It is the initiation towards the de-dollarization. Similarly, the China is also moving on the same direction. Many other countries started following, including Brazil. Even Russia is trying to look at alternatives, ways of doing that. So in that sense, your geopolitical uncertainty, as well as USA has, in this global uncertainty, USA has reduced their interest rates also in the global markets, and particularly bond yields are better. So people are looking at an alternative way, given the global uncertainty, still believes that USA is able to give us a good rate of return. So people investments are continue to flow there, which is also creating an issue. And as I told you, substantial foreign outflow because of the global uncertainty. The most or immediate effect is then is emerging countries. Money is flowing from India to their respective home countries. Be it your foreign institutional investments. We have seen significantly last couple of the weeks we have continue to work on that. Now coming to this, the most important part again, that we said the dollar is dominated. To understand why, right? Like I told you, why the dollar become standard currency across the globe. By knowingly, unknowingly, every country wants to protect the dollar. The reason is the petrodollar. Okay, because they had an agreement with the oil companies, particularly with Saudi Arabia after Second World War. Okay, that if you can accept whoever you are selling oil, they made an agreement with the OPEC countries that accept only dollars as a medium of currency. So that they have extended all possible support to this Gulf countries. So because oil is the most demanded commodity across the world, and every country has to buy oil from these OPEC countries and forced to earn the dollars. So that's where it started the dollar dominance in the global market. Okay, so since then, these people are played very an important role in the global economy. So that's the reason the strengthening of the US dollar become that trade imbalances, inflation risk. Countries with oil trade surpluses reinvest petrodollars in the US. Interestingly, these people are also demanded, only in the dollar form payments,
And since they have accumulated so much dollars, they started reinvesting in again US itself. So that made them much more, the dollar become a more stable and more standard currency in the international market. So, right, so if you look at what kind of impact, that's where the rupee depreciation, since India imports over 80% of our crude oil buying in dollars, increases demand for USD and puts pressure on the rupee. When oil prices rises, India trade deficit widens, leading to rupee depreciates. And also your inflation, trade deficit, higher oil prices increases the import costs. I think this all we have discussed. So now the de-dollarization also, as I mentioned, today the most of the countries don't want to get into, just started. It is not such an easy task, de-dollarizing with the global economy. But the countries started thinking and trying to float, as I mentioned, along with the cryptocurrencies. Now every other country is also coming with the bilateral trade agreements with their own. Again, CBDCs, central bank digital currencies also is coming up. So with that, it is moving better. So to conclude the entire story, that India, doing very well in terms of the trade, goods and services, but the major challenge today is too much dependency on the dollar or single country currencies. Okay? To come out from those dependency, as I mentioned, that today India not only getting bilateral trade agreements, India also wants its rupee to be recognized as one of the standard global international currency. I could see that that the rupee depreciation of today, whatever is depreciating against dollar, could be a temporary phenomenon. And India has to take an advantage. When it can be only temporary, if India can take advantage by promoting substitution towards imports, like the way they are giving slogans like Made in India, Make in India, but that has to be converted to the reality, increase our mass scale of production, not only at the higher level of, the larger scale of industries. It should start from even small scale industries also, if they come as an alternative towards meeting the global demand, because now our currency is depreciating and we are competitive in the global market. If you can take situation as an advantage and grab the share in the global market, then the rupee depreciation will have some meaningful impact for the country. But if it is consistently continues, and even though, as I told you, the trade agreements are, with the bilateral trade agreements are sounds good theoretically, but so far practically, if you look at, they are not so active. Okay, though they are trying to use it, because recently, the country started saying that, okay, we have bought enough from the rupee, and now let's exchange the rest with the dollars. The situation is coming because we are still not able to increase the goods and service productions which required by the global citizens. Okay, so just to conclude one word again, if given any question on this for your competitive exam point of view, as I mentioned, like we had through 4 issues. One, you can start the basic question about if when rupee is depreciates, which sectors gets what, how we are getting benefited with that. We have started with that, right? Then whenever such a situation arises, like one question is the advantage and disadvantages of the rupee. The second part is you can look at what is the alternative ways to strengthen Indian rupee. Okay, that is, we have tried to mention about these bilateral agreements between different countries, particularly even with Russia, that escrow accounts to the rest of the countries, so that it can probably lead a positive impact. Okay, the another third question we can think of about, particularly on the petrodollars, because the dollar dominance, the major dollar dominance has come because of the petrodollars has played a crucial role for USA, the currency to strengthen. And as India, we are the larger import of crude oil, so we are become too much dependent on currency of the dollar. So as already government of India is initiated towards the renewable energy sources, alternative to your crude oil, we are going aggressively also towards increasing your solar or wind, alternative sources of energy. So that could possibly reduce the dependency on the oil, and where we can self-sustain an extent. Okay, and the question on your even de-dollarization. The de-dollarization also, you can say that USA, where we have seen like various tariff challenges or the intervention in the global, the geopolitical, the uncertainty whenever it rises, how USA is intervening and trying to impose the financial sanctions on those countries, started rethinking about the de-dollarization. Okay, so you can list that, these are the India and several other countries, even China, to trying to move on. The last part of the question, you can compare with your nominal, regular exchange rate with the PPP. When you are comparing with the currencies exchange rates with one country to other country, and how we can compare with the purchasing power, with the countries, so that you will see that how rupees strengthens or the true value of the country, which would reflect not only in terms of the exchange rate, you can look at the PPP terms, will be able to say. So I think you will be able to generally answer on this, 5 major questions from today. Whatever I could, discuss given a time. I'm sure there will be some gaps because of your non-economics background with the terminology, but I'm sure you got some sense of idea on this. So with this I conclude, and I'll be happy to take any questions from your end. Thank you.
So now India is strengthening its rupee. Now 22 countries are now involving with India with rupees. At the same time, Donald Trump has said if anyone is involving in de-dollarization, it will put tariffs on BRIC countries and all. India is a part of BRIC country. So will it not affect India if you are trying to strengthen our rupees is indirectly de-dollarizing US currency? So is it not going to affect our currency?
Very good question. So this is also now when the countries are trying to go towards the de-dollarization, and the Trump already warned any country making any kind of efforts directly or indirectly to de-dollarize will put a strong restrictions on this economy. But now think about openly, if Trump continues to go on impose tariffs on everyone, they will be alone, right? It is as good as, if in this class you're all friends and one fellow is threatening everybody, if you don't talk to me or you don't give me, I will not be friend with you. You can tell with 1, 2, but if you tell whole class, they'll say, okay boss, thank you, because you will be alone. End of the day, that's where we are saying today, at least as economist, I could see that USA is getting into the more trouble, because today no country, no one have fear of any kind of things, and nobody willing to accept dominance of any country. You want to impose tariff, I will also impose tariff. Fair enough. I will be also be impacted and you will also impacted. That is where the situation, and USA an aggressive, the Trump administration particularly, you can check with one country or 2 countries or a group of countries. But now it is like whichever the country, now Trump is going. So in that sense, at least I can foresee, time has to tell how it goes, but I don't think that would be seriously impacting on the global economy, because every country now wants to protect their own economy. The way USA is dominating that, America is first. The slogan of America is first for everything. So every country also looks at their own survival means of it in the global trade. And after all, this Western countries only promoted this free trade, right? Liberalized. And you want to put restrictions for your own economy, because like if you see, they've started with, if you are any company who is outsourcing the employment, will be charged 30% tax extra. It was imposed some time back. So they were discouraging outsourcing because China, India is going to be worse affected if they impose such taxes, because a lot of IT work we get is in outsourced from those countries. So you are protecting your own sake of the country, fair. There may be some slowdown, absolutely no doubt. And not only for the India, it is also same true for the US. That's the reason now entire global markets are shaken and either going to investments. Sorry. If you see, one is the gold investments are increasing, gold prices are shooting up. Another is your cryptocurrencies are going very high. No other investments. Everybody is very, uncertain about how the new regime will take place. That's where there are a group of economists. We think that the new financial order has to come from this era, because IMF, World Bank also losing its relevance, its control on the global financial, things. So people are thinking that new age institutions has to place now to reforming and see that how we can work together to betterment of the global economy, because now every country wants their own. China is also strongly trying to push yuan as international currency. So in that way, I don't see that. We no need to much worry about the Trump's, threatens. Like when Russia, that's where I'm saying if you examine the Russia case, when the Russia was moved out from the SWIFT payments, but Russia's doesn't had any effect, because Russia is very clever. From the beginning, they are against of this English and whatnot. They were been going on their own independent way. So it has helped them to stand better in the their own way, despite their threats from the US economy. So in that sense, I don't see that this, even the Trump tariff wars, it's disturbs entirely. There is no doubt about the trade regime, but it's two sides. So it's the US call to decide and take. Yeah. Any questions? As simple as you don't worry about how silly or how big it is. So this is a open session where we can. Yeah.
When rupee depreciates, the dollar, $1 equal to 80 rupees will become $1 equal to 90 rupees. How will it leads to exports? It will boost exports.
Well, that's a very good question again. So you are asking when the rupee value from 80 to 90 rupees. So will it boost the exports, right? Because why it will boost the exports? Our commodity become cheaper in international market. Suppose this mobile cost you 100 rupees, right? In Indian rupee. Now, or like you have said 80 to 90, right? So it is originally 80 rupees, right? Now it has gone to 90 and $1 equal to 80. For example, we assume the exchange rate between Indian rupee. So USA people can buy our mobile with $1. Earlier they pay $1, you get a mobile. Now they are giving $1 and we are returning $0.10 to back them. $1 only they are giving. But now our rupee is depreciated. Now we are giving some change. Please boss, our product price, our currency has depreciated. So you take another $10.10, take back. So they are getting natural advantage, right? So this price becomes cheaper for them. Now they don't need to give full $1. They can pay only Indian, say $90.90 only. Full dollar is not required, right? So that's where it has become cheaper for them. Earlier they used to buy for $1. Now they are just pay them 90 cents. You get a mobile. So obviously it is cheaper. So it may boost the people to switch to our products. Without the cost of production has not reduced. It is not that our mobile price has decreased. No, it is only the exchange rate as our rupee has depreciated and this product become cheaper in international market. So hence the people may buy more. That's the reason. That's the reason I told you, please don't get confused. I see even my regular academic classes, the students get confusion with appreciation, depreciation also. And then when you write in the exam, you may write every very good essay on the how this rupee value and all the trade agreements about everything. But if you are confused in one line that rupee appreciation will increase more exports, one line if you write enough, they will think that okay, these people did not understand the logic, might be read some book and omitted in the answer scripts. Though your essay may be very perfect, but one answer which is completely counter to what you write it, then it goes wrong. That's where I said, first try to understand very simple concepts and a logic, starting with what is appreciation, what is depreciation, and what happens, which sector get benefits, who are the beneficiaries, who are the losers. Then you will be able to appreciate all this, your de-dollarization, blah, blah, all the stuffs we can do that. Okay, that's good.
Sir,
Yeah.
can cryptocurrency affects Indian currency? If it affects, how we have to overcome that?
Well, I think you also need to read little more on everyone, not you, I mean to say. This is one of the most important area people are talking about cryptocurrencies, particularly now. Earlier, some of the, some time back, there was a huge discussion on whether to accept it. Some countries imposed a ban, some countries accepted. Now USA said, because we are seeing the dollar is a strong stable currency and they themselves are willing to consider it. And India also in the last budget, we imposed 30% tax on it. Though we don't say it is an official currency, but we imposed a tax. So indirectly we are also accepting them. So now the important question, how it is going to impact. It is not only in Indian currency. That is where I told you, cryptos does not have a country. Okay? It is like if you ask Rupee, who is the third party? The government. Or particularly like say RBI. If you take your 500 note, see there is somebody is promised to pay. Reserve Bank governor writes that it is promised to pay, that is a worth of 500. And we are accepting as a medium of exchange. And tomorrow if you give me 500, if I don't accept, you can complain against me. See, this fellow is not accepting this is a legal tender currency and is going against of it. So that way RBI will ensure, boss, it's a official currency, please take it. We go. But cryptos, who will tell? Here RBI is intervening. But cryptos, who will intervene? No one. No country, no agency, no institution. It is the algorithm based blockchain technology these cryptos are developed. So that's the reason, but the advantage is so far no hacker could hack it. The beauty of it, because even today before releasing any movie, we will have a crack version. Or the same day, I think you are in the hub of movie theaters also, right? In RTC Crossroads, Sandhya Theatre or Sudarshan Theatre, some movie will be released in the morning, afternoon you will get a pirated copy, which is again not encouraged, but I'm just saying the way or any software is available, you get a crack version free of cost. If you have to pay, you have to pay in lakhs. But fortunately or unfortunately, the cyber hackers till now could not hack, disturb the crypto technology based currency, the strength of the blockchain technology. Hence, it is growing day by day. There are so many Ponzi schemes that keep aside. If somebody thinking easy money, don't get trapped of that, this is the initial coins offering. Now you pay in Indian rupee 1 lakh, you will get 1,000 coins and it will be like a Bitcoin. That will never happen. There are so many Ponzi schemes. Anyway, you keep aside. I'm talking about as of now, like say Bitcoin and Ethereum, where they have strong base and it is growing. Because another idea is this Bitcoin supply is limited. Bitcoin supply is limited. I think the 2 lakhs or some fixed amount of coins will be generated, not more than that. Okay, as you solve the algorithms and it is fixed its capacity, and now they are making splitting into small, like you had in Indian rupee 1 paisa, Ana paisa, likewise. Now Bitcoin coming as a Satoshi, like even one small fraction of 1 Bitcoin also started. But end of the day, one has to remember crypto is a currency, not an asset. Still, there is a lot of debate in the literature as well. It's a medium of exchange, right? What is the basic characteristics of currency? We have been talking about, right? We have basic characteristics of currency like medium of exchange, store of value, right? All those basic characteristics of currency is there. But here, the major challenge, though it is widely accepted, widely it is goes, but if you have to answer how cryptocurrency is going to impact on the currency market, the limitation would be which monetary policy can control the the cryptocurrency supply. Because today we have monetary policy, I told you, through the interest rates we can play around. Increase, decrease, so that it will adjust. Inflation can be moderate. But with the cryptos, you will leave completely to the market forces. And if any fine morning, so far nobody hacked. Once you adapt, everybody accepts it. And suddenly some intelligent person will hack it. Just imagine what is going to happen with the international currency management system. What will happen to your savings? What will happen to your earnings? How do you compensate? How much disturbance it can create? Is the apprehension from certain group of economists or the policymakers. But that's a one side of an argument when you write a story. The other side of it, since it is a borderless transactions, so the countries now no need to worry about this exchange rates at all. Right? We are talking about bilateral trade agreements, accept one country to another country currency, or a dollar is dominating, or yuan wants to dominate the global currency. In the cryptos, it is across the globe, you have a Bitcoin, it is same value in India and same value in the USA. You can buy with the Bitcoin a product in India and also in the US without any exchange rate, because a common currency. So it is able to run as long as it is not, no one has hacked it. But definitely, this is the where I was talking about, cryptos are becoming challenging to the fiat currencies. It definitely will have, when time comes, if every country started earning, say, bitcoins, having a good reserves, so India also will have no option except earning your cryptos by accepting it, and because otherwise you lose in the market. That's where USA is also saying, now we will also adapt, because many of the people are willing to accept, and a lot of trade is happening through Bitcoin. The volume is increasing day by day. So definitely it will have an impact on Indian rupee as well as the dollar. Whether it is a positive, negative, time will tell us, because how we efficiently manage our own currency system by accepting the other currency like a crypto, because we can see that is also one kind of a standard currency which can influence the trade. Domestically, of course, our rupee we can strengthen, but the cryptos also would be majorly will influence when you depend on the global trade. So we can think of the crypto story also in that larger context and see pros and cons, because here anyway you don't go into policy analysis, right? So here is a competitive exam purpose, so try to advocate what if we adapt, what we don't adapt, and what possible impact which can create into this economy is enough for us. This is a very contemporary issue. You keep read and update, and if you have any issues or any doubts, you can feel free. I hope my mail ID also there, or you can ask Ganesh sir. He will connect with me and I can share with you if you wish to have any further on that. Right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Krishna Reddy. Thank you for accepting our invitation and delivering a lecture on Indian rupee. So these kind of lectures will continue in future also. Apart from our regular classes, at least once in 15 days, let us have these kind of thought-provoking lectures which will be helpful for you for your civil services prelims as well as the mains examination. Now, since we are associated with many competitive examinations, we would like to give you certain tips, right, which will be helpful for you to be successful in civil services examination. And just now, Professor Krishna Reddy was telling that just answering the question is not enough, especially for mains. How effectively you are presenting your answer is more important, right? That means you can score more marks if at all you are able to present your answer more effectively and in a logical order, right? While evaluating the answer scripts, the examiner look for the most pertinent points and whether a student is able to present those points in a logical order, and on the whole whether your answer is more effective when compared to others or not. So through these kind of lectures, right, you will get a great insight into different subjects, different topics. So keeping your needs in view, lectures will be arranged related to international relations, economy, Indian polity, Indian constitution, science and technology. Like that, we will try to identify the resource persons, right, across the Indian universities and the prominent academicians associated with various research institutions. Okay. So again, today I would like to announce you that on 29th March, I think 29th March, it's fixed. On 29th March, Professor Krishna Reddy will deliver another lecture on another important topic that is again related to economy. That means what we are thinking, that once we identify one resource person, at least 2 consecutive lectures will be arranged, right? Now it is 15th, then 29th. So like that, maybe next month, we try to identify the resource person, maybe related to Indian polity or international relations or some other subject. Okay. So like that, we try our level best to organize these lectures for the benefit of the students. Okay. And on behalf of the Amigos IAS Academy, I thank my good friend Professor Krishna Reddy for delivering a thought-provoking lecture on Indian rupee. Thank you very much. Now I request Mr. Kalyan to propose a formal vote of thanks.
Hello everyone. So it was a tour de force on geopolitics and geoeconomics. I hope you have picked up on cues like Big Mac Index. Yes, did you observe Big Mac Index in the lecturer? So whenever sir has discussed about that McDonald's burger, $1.90, that is called as Big Mac Index, right? So every cue that if you pick up from the class, okay, we have started with geopolitics, how geopolitics is affecting geoeconomics, and then that is leading to de-dollarization. Yes, so on behalf of all of you, I just wanted to ask sir one small question. Sir, do you really think that India's CBDC or China CBDC will anytime replace, dollar? No. Yes. So I will explain that later, right? So the answer is no. So please understand whenever you attend such lectures, okay, the most important thing is the concept behind the entire thought process, okay? So most importantly, to sum up the lecturer, sir has wonderfully convinced us that, the only way is China 1+ model or China +1 model, that is to invest in manufacturing and export more. So all these you will probably appreciate and understand more once you have completed your IR. Yes or no? And most of you are beginners for economy, right? So on behalf of this institute, so I would like to extend my vote of thanks. So first of all, sir, thank you so much for spending the time. and I'm pretty sure it will have a long lasting impact on them. I'm pretty sure again when they are writing mains, they will remember you, especially in the concept of de-dollarization. And I would like to take the opportunity to extend my heartfelt gratitude and thanks to you. At the same time, this entire Edu talks are happening because of two people, that is our esteemed director Ramna Reddy sir and Professor Ganesh sir. Without his vision, probably these talks would not have happened. So please give him a big round of applause so that that vision will be continued. Yes, as a student, I know, sitting for 1 hour and listening to a lecture sometimes which is going above my head is not that easy. But at the same time, one day we expect you to grow to their level, that whenever they are speaking something, you will capture and ask the most important questions. So that will be a very, very good tribute to both the institute and to the guest lecturer. Okay, so thank you once again, Krishna Reddy sir, for this wonderful evening and for your valuable presence and contribution. We are again looking forward to have more sessions like this, and I hope you will graciously accept our invitation once more, not only on 29th and in future also. All right. Thank you everyone. Hope if you have any doubts, I will take the mail ID from sir. You can directly drop a mail to him and he will be happy to help you. Okay. Thank you.